Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It is episode 81 of Franco's World. Today's episode is very interesting because I'm bringing a very interesting guy along. We just did a little Zoom show thing, whatever, last week. We had a lot of fun and we joked around after, so decided to bring him on and share him to you, my audience. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matt Levy. Matt, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Happy to be shared with your audience.
Oh, it's vast. It's very vast, and we're also elitist. We're very smart, so you better bring your A game, pal.
I'm here. I'm here for the smart audience, dude. That's what I'm all about.
But you can follow Matt at MattLevy51 on Twitter. And I got to tell you something, folks. Okay, let's be real for a second. He's a great follow. This guy, I mean, he just had a tweet pop off to the moon. What was
It
that one
did.
about?
It's really weird that it did out of nowhere, but basically I took an improv class and this one guy in the class made every single scene about high school reunions and I just imagined that he was preparing for a high school reunion and wanted to know every single situation or scenario that he could find himself in.
I mean, that's so like niche, and the fact that it like blew up like that, aren't those the ones that feel like the absolute best? I've never had a viral tweet, but I imagine those are the ones that feel the best.
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on what going viral is like. It's not as great as you think,
Huh.
unfortunately. It's cool. Yeah, for a second it's like, whoa. But to be honest, it's very ephemeral. Like all these people like 14 of the tweets within the thread, but nobody follows you, which is fine.
Oh.
I mean, Twitter gives you the platform. I can't be angry. But then Twitter also kind of limits how many people you can follow
Mhm.
and they like shut you down. So after a while, you can't even follow people back, and you can't even really capitalize on Twitter in a way that is kind of like getting you to the next level. You get like, oh, 100 new followers, 3 new YouTube subscribers after you do like the here is my SoundCloud part of it. But
Right. I was like, I look at those when I see people do that, and I'm just like, I understand, but like, it has to feel so awkward to be like,
it's
oh,
so
by the way, I
awkward.
do this.
Yeah, I don't just do this one tweet. Please pay
It's like
attention while I
this is
have you here. This is my
not
one moment.
this is not an accident. Okay, I planned for this to happen.
Yes. I actually woke up at like 6 a.m. the other morning. I was like, "Fuck, I gotta do a better. This is my SoundCloud," and I
Dude,
did it at 6 in the morning in my bed. It was so sad. That's
that
the
I
lamest thing.
understand what it's like though, because I'm on the TikTok app, and I one of my
Mhm.
very first videos, I'd say like my 5th video, got 1.2 million views, like 100,000 likes.
Right.
And I've just been trying to capture lightning in a bottle since.
May I tell you
And
a
it's funny.
conspiracy theory?
Hold on, it's funny because that it was a joke about high school reunions. This is full circle.
Was it really? Share
Yeah.
the joke. What was the joke?
Oh, it was I recently got kicked out of my high school like my high school class Facebook group the other day because they said we couldn't have a 5-year reunion because some lost funds like the funds came up missing. And so we could either all get together and bring in covered dish, or we could just schedule it for a later date at the 10-year mark. And so I said at the bottom, how about the one where we all grow up and move on with our lives? Like I said that, and it worked out pretty well. I'm obviously delivering it poorly, but it
That
was
was
something
great.
along
No,
those
it's
lines.
funny, man.
Yeah, but that was the one that worked for me.
Okay, so should I shatter your dreams a
Shatter it.
little bit?
Shatter 'em, dude.
I
Shatter 'em.
feel bad.
Tell me no,
Some
I know what you're gonna tell me. Tell me I'm not hot enough to succeed on TikTok. Go ahead and do it.
That's it. I heard a theory that TikTok has every new user's videos go viral, so they become obsessed with the site. I don't know if they pad the stats or inflate them, but then you constantly are churning out new content for them because you're always chasing that high. It's like a little drug addiction. I don't know if it's real because I don't really use TikTok very much, but there is this phenomenon that pretty much everyone goes on,
Your first few they
goes
do say I
viral.
do know the fact of the matter is your first few videos do have the most push.
Yeah, they spike. And I
Yeah.
bet if you created a new account with like a new IP address, you'd probably go viral again because they're probably just wired into
So you're saying I gotta
creating
get a
this
new phone?
world.
I gotta get a new phone?
That might be the way, dude.
Is that how I get a new IP address? I'm also an idiot. I don't
I
know
don't
how
know
to
about that. I actually have no idea how IP addresses truly work because I imagine your phone is like linked to your computer and you've synced everything up in some kind of way, but I am not an IT guy really.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair. I mean, it makes a lot of
This
sense
is
to me.
where your fans can sound off in the comments.
Oh yeah. Oh, the vast odd dude. The crazy thing is I have more followers on the TikTok app than I do both Twitter and Instagram combined.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Strangers from all over the world, right?
Yeah, but now it's like,
Yeah.
and I've had some other success on that app too. Like I've had some get 500,000 views or this 100,000 views and stuff like that. And so it makes me think that like I can do well. Like I can get people to watch the show and stuff like that, or listen to the show. And but then you reveal this information to me, and now it's like they're just throwing me a bone to keep me addicted.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's a deep dive to go down
I'm trying to
to
game
figure
the
out.
algorithm though. I am totally gaming the algorithm.
Yeah, you could game the algorithm by just creating a ton of new accounts, and then eventually just all these accounts draw people to this very podcast.
That's the goal. And it's
It could
what do you
happen.
call like first click marketing, last click marketing? I don't, it's one of those marketing terms. I don't know.
I missed what you said actually. I don't know if you
Sorry. It's not important.
like
We'll skip past that. We'll skip past that. We can keep talking about the talk. We can talk about the talk another time. But
Okay.
so I was going through all your Instagram stuff, and because I'm a stalker and a creep, and I have to get to know about the people. And we were talking about this before the show. Your comedy therapy. Can you please explain this to us like we're 10 years old? Explain your comedy therapy to us like we're 10. No, no, explain it regularly. I'm just teasing.
I'll explain it for all ages right now. So, for it's kind of a long story to get to it, but about 2 years ago, I started a comedy blog that's weekly called Comedy Stray Notes that I update pretty religiously. I think I've only missed once or twice in 2 years. Um, and I just thought it's a little crazy that, you do all this stuff and it goes unnoticed and there's no recaps of like the shows that you're on
Mm,
and everything that you've seen and propping up people that are doing good stuff within the community. Like you doing this podcast is cool, but
nice.
there's no one really giving like the proper shout outs or praise that things deserve. So I started this blog that I put out mostly on Facebook, just like giving people an updated view on how comedy was going that week. And I haven't stopped, and I've found different ways that I could monetize this blog in ways that I could grow and other people could grow as well. So during
Yeah.
the beginning of the pandemic, I thought, man, it'd be amazing if instead of me doing all this writing, someone did this writing about me. And then I was like, that's a business idea right there. So I
Wow.
started a business called A Profile About You, where I started writing like New Yorker style profiles about comedians
Hmm.
for a small amount of money. I'd have them fill out like a questionnaire about themselves, and then I would fashion it into a piece, and they would get final edit, and I'd put it online, and it did pretty well. Like MSNBC picked it up. It was pretty
Wow.
crazy
That's awesome, man.
from from a friend. I will say it was my buddy that I used to work with
Hey, it don't
at a
matter. It
restaurant
pays
that
to
now
know
works there.
people, brother. It pays to
But it
know
was
people.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of like strangers from all over the world reached out to me to have profiles. We ended up doing, I think I've done 52. Not a crazy amount. It slowed down quite a bit after a while, but it was a lot of work for not a ton of money.
Uh huh.
And then in June, I was like, what's another way that I could make this blog thing that I've kind of become more obsessed with than actually doing comedy into? And I had like a moment of inspiration and I was like, I really just want to be more like a Judd Apatow than Seth Rogen kind
Uh
of
huh.
thing. Like, we all wanted to be Seth Rogen. And I was like, I'd rather just be the guy that is the one that makes everyone else happen and I'm part of everyone's success rather than
Yeah.
just my own. So I
I took a page out of his playbook too by interviewing comedians.
yeah, exactly. Like you just get to soak in everyone else's knowledge
Exactly.
and kind of be a part of their story rather than
When I
just
was
your
in
own.
college, before I started doing the podcast, I would like try to get a hold of comedians, and I had some pretty decent guys. Like and talked to me for like an hour, 45 minutes about everything under the sun. And it was so cool that like I'm talking to a guy that gets to go on tour and do stand up. And it's like I it just soaked all that information in, trying to get it through osmosis that I can myself become funny.
You can. Yeah, I think that is the way. Because you just, it's a sort of, yes, everyone has to be funny in their own unique way, but if you study enough, you can kind of figure out your taste, and then your taste will sort of dictate what you become, I think.
Yeah, well, you could look at the law of attraction, where objects in motion stay in motion. If you're around the comedy community, you will become funnier.
Yeah, as unfunny as this conversation has become, it's got
Eventually, it might have a joke in it. I don't know.
yeah. Anyway, so like Judd Apatow, like both of us are sort of aspire to be. It sounds like
Yeah.
um, I I said something on the internet saying I am not quitting comedy, but I am kind of transitioning more toward a uh, helper role where I'd like to just talk to people about their career, see where they're at, totally free of charge, and it can be anything and everything, like you said. We could discuss your bits. We can talk about if you want to do a special, like what your vision is for it. If you're interested in sketch or screenplays, I'm happy to read. If you want to just talk about your career, if you want to come up with a vision for your next 5 years exactly to the T, I want to be basically what is a therapist a therapist would do for a client or a manager. So every comedian dreams of having, like, representation. I wanted to kind of cut out the middleman and just be the representation for anybody. And I did that for like a month and a half over Twitter DMs, where I'd be messaging people for like 9 straight hours, and I was like,
Wow.
I should probably get paid for this. So like I was talking to pretty established people too. It was weird. Like I was giving advice to people that had significantly more success than me, but
Right.
was taking an active interest in their career. So I eventually just said, I am now going to do hour-long Zoom sessions for $25, and I've had clients every day for like the past just about a month now,
That's so
and
cool, man. That's
I'm
awesome.
booked up until like January 2nd.
That is
So
so
it's
cool.
just pretty fun, kind of going to this instead of worrying about, oh, am I gonna ever get booked again, kind of thing, because I don't really care anymore. It's kind
Yeah.
of
Well,
a new
you
phase.
found your own way, though. You found your own way, and
Exactly. Yeah.
you still get to be funny and be around comedy.
Yeah. But even a lot of the sessions aren't funny at all, to be
Okay,
completely
well, fair
honest.
enough, but you still get to be around
Yeah.
comedy.
Yes. Yeah. I get to talk about my favorite thing for hours.
That's so cool, man. Oh my
It's
gosh.
pretty great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really innovative idea, and the fact that, the idea of cutting out the middleman and the comedy market is a whole racket of taking this and taking this, and then the actual act is left with, breadcrumbs in comparison to what the management stuff bringing in.
100% true. I don't know if it's the managers that take so much, but it is hard to even get one. Like it feels like such a how does that happen kind of
Mm.
process. Like
Well, I mean, it's
you need to
definitely
be
I don't even
discovered.
is it like the '90s where it's like, "Hey, so and so did really good on on a show," and it's like, "Hey, let's get him on, management," you know what I mean?
I mean, I feel like that's exactly it. I was the booker. I was the assistant to the booker at Caroline's
Mhm.
for 2 months before the pandemic. I had just gotten the job. But it seemed to me that a lot of these agents only heard about these people through word of mouth, like you were saying, and
Yeah.
had no idea what was actually going on, what was good. They weren't comics themselves. I have no idea how they fell into these jobs, but
Yeah.
they dictate everything. It just blew my mind,
Wow, I
kind
didn't
of
even think
seeing the
about that.
inside point of view. I was like, who are these people? They don't like comedy that much. They like money. It was just so confusing to me, and then I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna do it.
If I were a basketball player, for those, out there looking for a sports reference, if I were a basketball player, okay, why would I want some, like, I don't know, skeevy businessman guy running my stuff as opposed to a guy who maybe played a couple years in the league and then transitioned into a front office role? You know what I mean?
True. I mean, that's what the NBA has really transitioned to as well. Like a lot. I mean, I think I feel bad because I forget the guy's name, and I'm a Suns fan. But oh, is it James Jones? Is the Suns GM?
Sure, I have no idea.
Well, yeah, James Jones, former NBA player, Suns GM, and Suns notoriously bad for like the past 10 years.
Hmm.
Coming back, people
Coming back.
are coming to the franchise. Yeah.
Well, now you have Suns 1.0 when the Suns were good out in Brooklyn
Yes.
with Nash,
Yeah.
Stoudemire,
Nash,
D'Antoni,
D'Antoni.
and
Yeah,
I
it's
love
weird.
D'Antoni. D'Antoni is my favorite basketball coach, and I'm very bummed that he's not a head man anymore.
I like that he's, kind of letting Steve flourish. He might leave after a year or two.
Well,
I think
D'Antoni's
it's
a West
interesting.
Virginia guy, and West Virginia guys, and I'm gonna let you in this fraternity just because you're nice to me. But West Virginia
Okay.
people stick together because there's not a lot of us that make it. You know what I mean?
I want to see the West Virginia Hall of Fame. It's just you and Mike D'Antoni.
Me and Mike D'Antoni and Randy Moss. That's it.
Oh, Randy Moss, nice. Dream team right there.
Exactly, man. But so you do these sessions, and people. So how does like the whole how does it start? So they come to you, and do you give them like a questionnaire, or do you like it's like, hey, we're meeting at this time, let's get to talking.
Uh, yeah, it's a great question. So someone will, I'll blog about it. I say, I've been doing these sessions. They've been going well. I don't give out anyone's name
Obviously.
um, that is doing them. And I may give an example or two of some of the things that we've talked about that sort of are conversation starters. Like one that happened recently was we came, a client and I came up with a theory called the boomerang theory, which
Oh.
is when you try to do something new in stand up or just in comedy in general, but mostly stand up because it's kind of the most conservative in a weird way. As much as it's about free speech, people really don't, or especially comics, don't like you doing things that are different because it kind of intimidates them and scares them.
Hmm.
They're like, you kind
Like,
of have to
so you
play
mean
by
like
the
somebody
rules.
playing music is intimidating?
Sure. It's just like you're different, so we don't
Oh,
like
okay.
you,
Got it, got it,
even though
got it.
it's good.
Yeah.
Like it's I call it the boomerang theory though, because you do something different and you get further away from them. But the moment you achieve some modicum of a success, these people come right back to you. Like immediately they'll jump right back into, you know, treating you like you actually are important, and then they may even copy your style because it's been proven to work.
Uh-huh.
So there is this weird fear that certainly exists that anytime something original comes along, it's discredited because they want to maybe subconsciously bully you into staying at their level and not doing
Oh,
anything
that's
different
a
or creative.
1000% what it is, and when you come around, you're big time, they only wanna be with you because they think you're a honey hole, and they think they got a ticket to success. I have no success, this is just my outsider perspective.
I think that's true. Like I imagine when Hannah Gadsby had her moment, people were upset. But I think a lot of people have come around and kind of embraced her style and maybe even taken from it.
Mhm.
Like they hated Nanette, but like the amount of hate towards Nanette was like shocking to me. I was like, shouldn't we be, praising a comedian that just, shines a light on comedy, even if she's saying she's quitting? Like, it's great that people are paying attention to comedy again. They may pay attention to you as a result.
That's
What's
the
the point
thing,
of
man, and
tearing it down?
I know you've listened to countless episodes of mine in the past, but, I've
Let's
said
talk
this
Nanette.
I've said this a billion times, man, where the great thing about the internet and what's going on now is that it kind of took away some barriers to enter, and there's more art coming out now than any other time, which is fantastic. I want everyone to eat. The
Yeah.
downside to that is the piece of the pie is very much smaller now, and people are worried that if so and so gets to the bowl before me, I will die.
Yeah, that's a little sad, but I think it's just you have to work harder and find what makes you the only version that exists of whatever it is you're trying to achieve. And it takes years. You really
Joey
gotta.
Joey likes to use the golf analogy, how
Ooh,
comedy
I
and
like it.
golf, because when you're playing golf, you're playing against yourself of the course. You're not playing against Tiger Woods. Like you can't do anything to affect his score, and he can't do anything to affect your score.
Yeah, you guys are on the same exact course, though. It's a great analogy.
Yeah,
I love
I
that.
like that. I still think comedy is baseball though, but that's just me.
What's the baseball analogy?
Oh, the baseball analogy. It's mostly pitching. It's mostly pitching. Not so much being like an everyday shortstop, but pitching. The consistent pitchers are the ones that go out there every fifth day. But comedy, you're going up every night. But they go out
Right.
there, and you might see a guy who's fastball, 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 but then he flames out really fast. You know what I mean? And then
Ah, okay, I like that.
but then the most consistent ones and the best ones are the ones that are consistent professionals day in day out for years, know how to limit damage, and
Right.
also hit their spots. Pitching, it's a big thing called hitting your spots. So that's
Right.
like I know where I do well at. I'm going all in on the spots I do well at. Greg Maddux has thrown countless complete games, and he threw a no hitter on like 84 pitches.
Yeah, Maddox is a god. He's one of the best.
Exactly. So I like to use the pitching analogy. That's me.
Oh no, you cut out.
I said I like to use the pitching analogy. That's just me.
I like that a lot. I feel like a lot of pitchers have the longevity and sort of build these weird careers like a Tim Wakefield
Yeah,
or an
Jamie
R.A.
Moyer.
Dickey, Jamie Moyer. Yeah, they. My friend had a theory about comedy that you either make it in 3 years or 20 years. I'll say his name, Daniel J. Parafan. He's
Mhm.
great. Um, and
3 or
I feel
20,
like
wow.
it's the same for pitchers. Like you'll get like a um, what was that Giants pitcher who was so good? Was it
Matt
Tim
Cain?
Lincecum?
Oh, Tim
No.
Lincecum, yeah, he won a couple Cy Youngs, yeah,
Yeah, but then by like 2011, he
he was
was
out of the game. He
completely
was
done.
out of
Yeah,
baseball.
he was so good for like 4 years though,
Well, look at,
and
in the '90s, you had John Rocker, this elite closer, and then he just instantly gone.
yeah, and in comedy, when you make it in 3 years, you may not have really developed your voice and or actually figured out what it is you want to do. You just kind of hit randomly, and you don't even really know why, and it's hard to replicate that forever.
Oh,
But
and
if you hit
and you're
after
swinging at every pitch
20
too. You're
years,
just anything's
yeah,
coming your way, you're just, "Okay, yeah, 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 yeah." You're not laying it off and taking what you can get, you know what I mean?
sure. And I mean, a good example of this, who's actually doing really well, is Pete Davidson. Like he was so young and got everything and has kind of figured out a way to make it all work.
Yeah.
Whereas we all expected him to flame out by now. I think he's
Yeah,
probably
I
smarter
think he
than
would have
all of
flamed
us.
out by now if he was gonna flame out, yeah. I think you're
No, I
right.
don't think the flame's going to happen, man.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? But I think he's in for the long haul and knows how to play the game.
Yeah,
Even though,
I
I'll be honest,
definitely
I didn't love his last special. There's
I
hits
d
and misses.
I didn't watch it, but, I heard the big jokes. I mean, like, I saw the big jokes about Ariana, which were good, but, like,
They were fun, yeah.
I didn't listen to the whole special.
I feel like in this era of specials, they've gotten better and better to the point where it's like your special has to be incredible to kind of rise to the level of what even the average special is these days.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that one felt pretty below average, if I'm being honest.
That's fair. That's a fair take.
Yeah,
I do wanna get to the years thing because you were talking about the years, the 3 or 20, which is very interesting. I
not
remember
my
that
theory.
I know, I know, I know, I
It's
know.
completely stolen.
Completely stolen. We Dane cooked it. We Dane cooked it. It is ours now. But,
Yeah,
we're just gonna keep dropping names. But, I'm not gonna say this guy's name because he's a bad guy, but he said, "Get up every day, and if you suck after 4 years, quit." So there was that theory. And then Steve Byrne told me, he was like, "If you don't have 5 minutes after 3 years, quit."
that's totally fair.
Yeah.
I mean, you can stick it out for 20 years, but if you don't have at least some enjoyment slash success at it within 3 or 4 years, you may potentially be wasting your time. It is possible.
Yeah. And it's a sad
I
fact
do I
reality.
do agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should. I mean, making it in 20 years is not having 5 minutes. Making it in 20 years is like getting to a place where you have a steady job and you're doing comedy full time. I
Oh,
think.
exactly. Yeah, that's the goal. And I've said that from the jump that, like, everyone has these aspirations to sell out the Forum or sell out the Garden or sell out these big things or have hit Netflix specials and tour the world. and that's all well and good. I like to be more realistic with my goals. I've always said if I could have a career where I can make people laugh for a living, then I win. Like, I don't think that's it for me. That's,
I mean, if you want to do like a comedy therapy, that's a good jumping off point, man.
Oh yeah, I mean, we could have my session be on air. I'll air it to people. I don't care. It's an
You
open.
want
I'm
to
an
hear?
open.
You want to do it?
Yeah, I don't care. Go ahead. Yeah, ask
All
ask
right.
me ask me. I'm an open book. What I'd like to think of myself as an existentialist, that I have all these thought provoking thoughts, but really I'm just like a guy who watches too many McConaughey interviews and thinks he knows what he's talking.
That's funny. Okay, so you said your goal is to have a career where you can make people laugh, and you're doing it in a professional way where it's just like your day job. You're making money, right?
Not necessarily the
Or
day job where it's like all 9 to 5, got to punch the clock and like make people laugh. I would like to do formal stand up. That's just what I like.
okay, um, and so stand up is the goal for this
Yeah. Oh yeah.
theory. Okay, great. Um, and
Get
have
the notepad
you?
out. Get the notepad out. I will give you time. Get the notepad out.
Let's dive into the past because I actually, unfortunately, don't know a ton about your comedy history. Have you made some money as a comedian thus far?
Zero money on comedy. I've only been paid in beers.
Paid in beers. All right, not a sustainable income.
No, beer. I mean,
Unless beer is a
as
form of
much
currency
as
somewhere.
they make it seem like you can in movies, you can't do it.
Gotcha. And at this point, how many years into stand up are you?
I think I started when I was 21, like on the edge, like 2021. I think I started like just before my birthday. And the reason I did that, and I'm just giving you more material here to delve into, because I heard when Seinfeld started, and I was like, okay, I want to start before he did.
Okay, perfect. You needed to beat Jerry. Great.
I did not need to beat Jerry.
Excellent. All
Okay,
right.
got it down. This guy is an egotistical jerk. All right, got it.
So you started, and how old are you now?
I am 24.
Okay, so you're about 3 years, roughly or so.
Yeah, but I'm
In
not
right.
able to do it consistently, unfortunately.
Gotcha. And if we're being totally honest at this point, how good do you think you are?
I think I could probably give you 10 minutes. I think I give you 10, maybe 12 if I stretch it.
10 or 12 good minutes of stand up.
I
And
could
this
give you
is like A stuff, your A stuff, right?
I'm giving you my home run swing. I don't know if it's gonna the litmus test, it's not been ran through enough, but the audiences that I have delivered it to, it's been well received. I will say that.
That's good. I like that. Insert your clip right here.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
um, and what's the biggest platform you've had thus far with stand up?
What do you mean, like the biggest stage I've been on?
Yeah, have you like opened for
Yeah,
anyone?
I've opened for a couple guys.
Okay. And they didn't pay you for that?
Yeah, I got paid in the beer for that.
Got paid in beer. Got it.
That
um,
was it was also a spur of the moment thing. I went because my buddy was hosting, and
sure.
I just showed up, and he was like, "Hey, dude, open for these guys." And I said, "Okay."
That's great. I love
Yeah.
that. Um, all right. So you've got about 12 minutes. You're about 3 years in, and you want to make stand up your career. And you're 24.
Frank, I gotta
All
tell you, buddy, it's impossible.
No, dude, it's extremely possible. You've got a lot of experience for someone that's 24. That's you got a leg up on the game. Because I feel like most 24-year-olds aren't as devoted. I mean, I don't know all 24-year-olds, but I can't imagine everyone is like, really honing in on making it their thing.
Well,
So
I don't
you
know. I
you
mean,
definitely have a leg up.
the people. No, I wouldn't say that, because the people I follow that are like, there's people I follow that are younger than me or same age, slightly older than me, that are like absolutely crushing it. And I don't turn over my baseball card to compare my stats to their stats. That's what I like to
Yeah,
call it. I call it turning over the baseball card. But
don't keep Joey Ronalding it, man.
no, no, no,
Make
no.
sure yeah,
Comparison is the thief of joy. I'm not comparing myself to them. I'm just saying, like,
fair.
I wouldn't say I have a leg up on a competition. That's just me.
Okay, that's totally fair then. But you're at least active and you're doing your thing.
As much as I
Um,
can, yes.
okay, so let's jump forward 5 years in the future. It's 2026 now, and you're going to be 29,
Whew.
Uh, but now you're also 8 years into stand up,
Yeah.
which is pretty impressive. What have you accomplished in these 5 years?
Are you asking me what I want to accomplish, or am I supposed
I
to be
want to
like
hear what
confirming
you
it?
think you
Am I
accomplished. Yeah,
okay?
yeah,
Hmm.
man. Visualize it.
The 5-year plan for stand up. I think by the time I'm 29, I would like to be able to be the main act, be like the feature act of of like just a regular show, as in like maybe a Caroline's or something like that, or I don't know venues because I'm not in the city, so I don't know because I don't want to sound stupid. You know what I mean?
Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All
Um,
right. So two things there.
maybe the occasional road gig. I would like to also have the podcast to have a good following by then.
All right. That is extremely attainable, all of the above. So, number one, how much material do you think you can develop in these next 5 years in order to make something like that happen?
I mean, if I want to be realistic and be good, not it's not necessarily being able to like do it because I definitely don't want to like force. I don't want to like force anything. Like if I get
Hmm.
that opportunity to be the main guy on a show, like I want to
Yeah.
be able to like actually have the material. So I'm not going to force it. And
Okay.
I'd say like in 5 years, I'd like to be able to have like at least a couple hours. If I'm able to hit shows every night, I'm assuming I'm going to develop more material.
Okay. Cool.
So I'd say two. I'll give
What
you two
what
hours.
is 2 hours of material, which is another hour and 50 minutes
But
based on
then,
what
but
you
then,
have.
but then I heard this thing the other day. But then I heard this thing. Did you say it was pretty tough?
No, no, no.
Okay.
You can do anything you want, man.
The thing is, I heard this the other day. I was watching Seinfeld and Spade talk to each other, and
Sure.
this is third party. Seinfeld said he was talking to Rock about how a great comic's life is boiled down to just 2 hours, and I'm just like, oh my god, like,
Yeah, you can speak in absolutes. That's could be true, but
and
who
only a
knows?
Sith deals in absolutes. That's for my Star Wars fans out there.
Well, I mean, Jerry's put out so many hours, and he has also, got a lot of great, uh, obviously, hours of sitcom and web series with
Right.
his Crackle turned Netflix show, Comedians in
Exactly.
Cars.
Which I think he's
So,
done with, by the way. And I'm a big fan of that,
oh,
but I think he's done. I love that show.
it's a bummer. Either way, don't. I feel like speaking in absolutes kind of is scary, especially when you hear from one of the greats. It's like one of those things where we were talking about earlier with the boomerang effect, comics saying stuff to like scare you off, keep you in your little box,
Yeah.
even if Jerry doesn't see you as competition. He
Terry
might just
doesn't
see
know.
he might just see that, but you saw Jerry as competition when you started, so who knows?
You keep
Um,
saying that. I didn't see him as competition. I just wanted to like I aspired to be like my heroes.
gotcha. Okay. Well, you saw Jerry's starting as like an important time in your life to also begin.
Correct.
Um, yeah. Anyway, so my next question, based on you saying that in the next 5 years you could develop 2 hours, which is easily more than possible, you could probably write that in a couple months. What is your current writing process for material if this is like your main goal in life?
And it's tough because I thrive off of human interaction, and I'm not able to
Okay.
get a lot of human interaction with what
Okay.
we are going through. So a lot of my material is, and this sounds creepy, but like when I was in college, I would like sit and like sit on a public park bench and have my headphones in, but really just listen to passersby and just like, okay, my dogs are freaking out in the background. Love that. But
Okay.
and like hear what they're saying and be like, that's kind of weird that that situation happened to them, and I would like make note of it, but not write about their lives, but like how would I react in that situation, or like a funny anecdote I had in conversation in public with a friend or with a random person I would make note of. And it's hard for me to do that because I don't get a lot of human interaction and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And so I do a lot of like observational things. I like to draw comparisons to things, like
Hmm.
outlandish comparisons. Like I'm working on a joke right now about how the city of Los Angeles is like turkey, like the food turkey. Like
Okay.
that's the comparison I'm working on right now because it's just too dry. So that's what I'm working on right now. And
That's fun.
as far as like what I do when I write pen to paper, my yellow legal pads and my pen, and I write it out longhanded, like verbatim, word for word.
Cool.
AP formatting for those listening. AP
For
formatting
all the journalists, yeah.
for all the journalists. And what I do, I listen to music. I used to listen to a lot of jazz records, but lately I've been
Okay,
watching like live John Mayer concerts, and it's really cool when he starts jamming out on guitar. I feel like my hand is like jamming out on the pen on the paper.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And when you write, how do you end up determining what is quality and will make the act to you? Since we're obviously not doing like, you
This
know,
is I
mics
like
and stuff at the time.
I like the oh, what do I call it? The I'm trying to think. My dog's also barking in the background. I apologize. I'm trying to think. W- It's a whole thing I do. Okay, so if it's funny at 9 at night, it'll be funny at 9 in the morning. I like to read it the next day. If I like it the next morning, I feel good about it.
It's a great philosophy. I like that.
And we're back. My power went out of my house. It is snowing pretty badly out there. But if I do remember correctly, you asked me what my writing process was, and I told you about my if it's funny at 9 at night, it'll be funny at 9 in the morning.
Yeah.
That or 9 in the morning, 9 at night thing. And then I told you how I write to the beat of music, essentially, where I like to be in rhythm with what's going on and stuff like that. But I don't remember where we're at. I apologize.
No, that's great. So, do you think that that's a sustainable thing for you to continue writing and churning out material
I
to the
think
place where you can get like 2 hours worth of material that if I mean that's kind of an arbitrary number, but whatever you feel is necessary to become like this headliner type with 8 years under your belt.
I think it's gonna have to be a lot more getting out and talking to people. I don't think like this past year has obviously been really tough on everyone, but like for me mentally, it's been tough trying to come up with new material. Like where like what am I gonna do all day? Like at my parents' office and like I'm hanging drywall. How funny is that? Like I can't. Like that's tough to make some sort of
Sure.
weird
But
observable.
it's a kind of mindless though.
Yeah, but it's like it's just tough for me to like come up with material in that sense, and like when then I come home and just watch the news and the news is so sad and depressing and it's like, oh, I don't even know if I want to write tonight, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's unfortunately part of the job. Like you got to just do it day in and day out and treat it
E-
like it's your actual job after
exactly.
hours, unfortunately. So
Exactly.
even if yeah, it's depressing, even if it was you were feeling depressed by the news, you'd still go to your day job. No
I mean,
no
that makes
one's like
perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. Like I
no
just
one's like, "Oh man, I can't believe what's happening with Trump. I guess I'm not gonna go to work."
He's like, I can't believe what this guy said. I'm calling the boss. I'm taking a vacation.
Yeah.
But you're
So, yeah,
absolutely right.
you just have to
And
treat it like no days off.
yeah, and
Um,
being a funny person, you're gonna have to make jokes about sad and bad things. So you just might as well get
you
used to it.
don't even have to. You can make it do anything about anything.
That's true.
There's complete freedom. No one has any expectations of you.
But as far as the my writing process being sustainable, I think I feel much more comfortable when I'm like alone. Um, when I had that baseball gig and I had a couple roommates, it was hard for me to be like it's almost like I wanted to like be free and like then I could like let my thoughts go and I just like walk around and do this and that and just felt like comfortable in an environment like I lived by myself in college, so that whole my whole apartment was like a comedy hut. I would like there was and you weren't allowed to be in unless you were funny. Anything that was in that thing was just like engulfed in humor. And
Okay.
so like when I had like my outside life when I was working in baseball surrounding me, baseball was surrounding me there. It was hard
Mhm.
for me to have like my own little bubble of trying to be funny. And it's not like I wasn't funny. It's not like I didn't try to be funny like in the offices and stuff like that. It was just different.
Were you at your absolute funniest when you worked in this comedy hut thing?
I felt much more funnier then than I did when I lived in Allentown, Pennsylvania, when I had my baseball gig. And I feel funnier.
So
I feel funnier now than I did then too.
oh, that's great. Well, that's good because I imagine you have like some actual experience under your belt where you kind of took it like into a more formatted kind of direction where you're actually like doing it in a way where it's directed at an audience kind of thing as opposed to just like riffing with friends is why
What do
you
you mean, like?
feel funnier now.
I'm sorry. Can you
So you
like
feel
rephrase that? I'm stupid.
No, no, no. You feel funnier now than you did at the Comedy Hut because you've had like real experience as opposed to just like riffing. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
easier for you to like see a way or see the path than just kind of like coming up with nothing out of thin air kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's easier. It's like my favorite part of writing, and I'm sure you get this too when you're writing something really good. You know where the fun part is, like you know what's going to be at the finish line. You can see the finish line, but it's like, oh my gosh, look at this race I get to run to get to the finish line. Look at the between the legs
Yeah.
360 I get to do before I slam dunk the ball. The dunk is the after effect. Everybody knows the dunk's coming, but it's what are you
Right.
going to do while you're in midair? That's like the awesome part of the dunk.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
That's
It's
what it is.
that is what it is.
So when somebody says something to me and I do like these Instagram lives or TikTok lives or this or that or the other, or even when I'm writing and I have the starting point and then gun goes off and I see the finish line and I'm running the race and it's like, "Oh my gosh, I am killing this race right now. Oh, it feels so good." It's like I'm jamming out in a guitar solo. It's like I'm about to dunk a basket. It's like it feels so good. The best part is the middle when you're like, "Wait till you get a load of this finisher." Pow. Somebody says something crazy in an Instagram live, like I'm talking and I have like a Q&A and somebody asks like, "What's your thought on such and such?" And I just give this whole soliloquy about X, Y, and Z, and then I get to finish at home. That's the best feeling to me. I'm sure you
Nice.
can relate.
No, yeah, I can, but that's also very good that you get so much joy out of it.
Oh, you
Um,
can hear it in my voice inflection right there when I'm talking about
I
it. It's the
could,
best.
yeah. No, you were pumped.
Yeah.
You were excited for it. All right, so I am curious. The moment a funny idea comes to you,
That is
like
instantly getting jotted down.
so it gets jotted down, and is it just kind of like a half thought that gets jotted down, or are you going to spend like 3 minutes right there, kind of plotting it out, or do you just jot the half idea down and kind of allow it to
It's
simmer?
both. It's both. Like, there's
Okay.
sometimes where I already know where, like, somebody says, like, "And I did this," and I'm like, "That wasn't funny, but if you did this, that would be funny," and I'll write that down. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Got it. And then when you actively spend your time jamming out with John Mayer
Right,
and
me and John Mayer
actually
are very
writing, this
fluent
is when you
saying.
expand upon these ideas kind of thing?
Yeah, 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 so it's like it becomes more of a long form thing. When it's on paper, it's very like, it's not a lot of I don't know, it's there's not a lot of, like, one-liners when it's on paper. It's like a whole thing. It's like a page a minute, essentially.
Gotcha. Well, that's a lot.
But it's not
Um,
good, it's just filler. Like, I need to cut out all the
sure.
fat, but
You just gotta get it out of your system though.
yeah, oh, yeah.
Like it has to exist.
Yeah, and
That's good.
I'm also very afraid that it's gonna go away. Like, I'm very worried that, like, one
I
day
feel
I
the same
wake
way.
up and I can't find it. So it's like every
Yeah.
joke I've ever written that's, like, even if it's absolutely horrible, it is
Documented.
it's documented, I have it on paper, it's titled, and it's in an accordion folder that's alphabetized.
Excellent. That's great. I have had this theory for a long time that just writing anything down is like allowing yourself to have a second brain. It gives your brain so much space to free up rather than having the anxiety of trying to remember a
Oh
thing.
my gosh, that's such the worst when I'm like it's so crazy because like, you're at nighttime and you're in bed and you have a thought and it's like, "Oh, I gotta get the paper out, I gotta, like, put it in my notes app," but it's like, I'm so tired and hopefully I'll remember it in the morning. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
you have to do it. That's
I have to.
literally the job of being a comedian. I've quoted one of my friends before, but I'll quote another. There's a really funny comic named Rebecca Kaplan, and her pinned tweet is great, and it's just someone saying, "Oh, you're a funny person. Now go ahead and write down every funny thought you've ever had." It's true. That's what the gig is. It's kind of devoting yourself to being obsessive about making sure you document literally every single funny thing so you have it in your arsenal for later because it just doesn't all
Well,
exist in the brain.
laughs as you know, are currency.
Totally.
And
And
you
you
see
have to have a
someone else in your
billion.
friend group you see someone else in your friend group getting a laugh, and you're like, "Oh, I could have done better than that."
I mean, I kind of have reached a point where I stopped caring quite as much. But yeah, I've certainly felt that before. Um,
I was playing Quiplash, you know those Jackbox games, Quiplash?
sort of. I haven't actually played, but
It's
I've
like
heard of it.
Mad
Yeah.
Libs, but, like, with your friends, and I can sit there, and I did this, and I sat there, and I'm like I see a topic, and I told my friend who's sitting next to me, I said, they're gonna make a joke about blah blah blah, and then that instantly pops up, and I go, "Told you." Like, it's getting to the point where I know what jokes my stupid friends are gonna make.
Right. Um, okay. So we haven't really gotten too far in the therapy session to make this an actionable kind of thing that you can walk away and be like, all right, I'm going to leave
We
this
can,
meeting and have a deeper understanding of what I want to do
okay,
uh,
we can get there.
in these next 5 years. Because usually, I mean, it seemed like that was kind of the goal for this one, even though I kind of steered the conversation in that direction. Um, but I think the main thing, and I've said this many times, that sets like a comic that like blows up versus comics like you or myself from just kind of stagnating and staying in the same place forever is finding like a thing that sort of separates you from the pack,
Yeah.
and whatever that may be, uh, kind of makes it so you're not just the comic anymore. Now you are the baker comic, and people are like, oh, that guy is talks about his experience as a baker,
Right.
and now he's that thing, like sort of like Hannah Gadsby, like we were talking about earlier. She has a thing as someone who does kind of like lecture style comedy that's much more intricate and kind of cerebral than what you'd normally hear. So I guess what we need to determine right now is what's the
What
thing that
makes
makes you
me
different.
me? What makes me
Yeah,
me? Yeah.
and you've got the baseball scout thing, which however short lived it was, is pretty interesting.
Well, I was
And if you
from
were
I
the baseball scout comic, you could find yourself being the guy that like goes on our baseball and you have all these jokes about your scout experience and people are like, I'm a fan of that guy, and you've built yourself a whole fan
I
base.
haven't I see, I thought about that, but I have an issue with, like, I don't wanna be necessarily, like, the sports guy because I like joking about, like, everything, you know what I mean?
Dude, that's fine. If it's not your thing, then we find the next thing.
No, but, I mean, like, but then there's also the other thing that made me me was, like, I'm from the middle of nowhere, West Virginia. I'm from a
Mhm.
city that drank toxic water for decades. They made it like, the government came in, gave me, like, $500 in hush money. It was a whole thing, and, like, that's a
Wait,
very,
gave
very
every citizen of
yeah, gave every
your
citizen hush
town
money. Yeah.
$500?
Yeah,
That was the hush. Interesting.
and
Do you have jokes about this exact
I'm
story?
I think I wanna craft, like, this is what I want, like, that's that cornerstone joke that you're essentially talking about?
Yeah.
That's kinda what I want it to be, but I don't know how to make it, like, the funniest. So what I did here's this is, like, not
This
a
is it.
bit.
This is what it's all about.
This
Let's
is
hear
not a
it.
bit this is not a bit, this has actually happened.
Sure.
So I got the hush money, and I immediately bought a PlayStation 2 and a WWE video game, and I played it for 2 days and never touched it again. So that's the, like, compensation I got for drinking chemicals for 10 years. And I don't know how to, like, make that a thing, but I think that's a very unique experience, like, hardly anyone else has.
Well, I mean, we all got the $1,200 this year and did the same kind of thing.
Okay, well, never mind, that's gone.
So you, no, 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 it's not gone. You were the original man.
Yeah, I guess so,
Like,
but no,
like you
go
knew
ahead.
all about it. You were ahead of the game.
I guess, but,
It's funny that they're compensating, this potentially devastating thing with $500 and as hush money. Like
oh, yeah,
you
that's
can
I mean,
certainly extrapolate on that.
there's a documentary on Netflix about it. Mark Ruffalo and Anne Hathaway made a movie about it. It's a whole thing.
I mean, I'd like to hear. Oh, was that the Ruffalo Dark Waters
Yep,
movie?
that
Was
was
that what
it,
it's called?
man. That's my hometown, dude.
Dude, you well, a put that in the joke. Um,
All I got was Anne Hathaway and a stunning performance.
well, I want to go macro with it. To be completely honest, I want to hear about like what everyone in your town spent money on, not just you. Like I want to not
Oh,
zoom in
I
on the
don't know. I
micro,
don't know what it
or you could zoom out. Exactly, I think you can do some research and turn it into a big thing, like what everyone spent their money on, and obviously pan for gold on that and find out what
yeah,
is good and what doesn't really stick, and then maybe some people did like really impressive things, and then we get to you and you literally just bought
about a PlayStation.
a PS2, not even a PS3, and
Yep.
because it was market value.
Oh, yeah, I was in, like,
Um,
5th grade and awesome.
yeah, they gave. Oh, you left that out. It's important to know that you were in fifth grade.
Yep, I was in 5th grade. No,
Like
I
they gave
wasn't,
a
like
fifth grader $500. That's like unbelievable.
that is infinite money to a 5th grader.
Yeah, that's an important detail as well.
I could buy every book at the Scholastic Book Fair,
There
and
you
it
go.
yeah.
All that you please list everything you could have bought. Go wild on that. I think that's really funny.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. I do need to find something that makes me unique. I like to think I'm a good storyteller, but there's a ton of good storytellers out there, and I like to think that
That's
like
you comparing yourself to everybody else, though, man.
I'm not trying to compare
What
myself. I'm just saying like
what separates you as a storyteller then, rather than what makes other people good or successful?
are you asking
What
me or are you
what
saying I need to
Yeah,
find
yeah, yeah. No,
Oh,
no, no. Like, what makes your stories different than others?
I grew up in storytelling. My dad was a storyteller. He was a pastor and a businessman, so every week growing up in my childhood, I watched him do an hour of new material every week.
That's gotta be pretty inspiring.
Yeah. So it's like if that guy can create something out of thin air, then I think I could, I think I could too. And I think his ability to relate to like he would go to like he I know a lot of people have negative connotations with religion and I myself think the big business of Christianity is disgusting, but my dad did it the right way. My dad would go to he would go to the crack houses, he would go to the prisons, he would go to like where like under bridges and stuff like that and like speak to these poor underprivileged downtrodden people and give them positive like a positive outlook on life. And that's really what I want to do is make like leave people happier than when they came into the room.
Gotcha.
This isn't
So
I'm
no,
not
no,
a my
that's
dad messed me up guy. I'm not a my dad messed me up guy. That's not me.
no, it sounds like your dad's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, nice guy.
Um, I think that's a really good direction to know that you wanna go in, like, to be a positive impact on people's life
Oh yeah.
is a important, uh, direction for you to know for all of your writing. Like, say,
Hmm.
does this kind of meet that criteria every time you write a bit? Like, is this, uh, something my dad would do the equivalent of as a pastor? Like, does it
Negative. Anything that I do in my act is not. But I don't curse in my act.
Right, so does a lot of your material, uh, not meet this standard then? Like, is it not, this positive kind of, like, bringing joy to people's life kinda thing? And it's more
I don't know. I
observational?
like to me like laughter is the essence of joy. So it's like as long as I
Yeah,
make them laugh, essentially, like that's what I'm looking for. You know what I mean?
okay. Yeah, 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 alright, well,
And,
that's fine.
how I get there, if I feel comfortable with it, if it passes my test, then it's cool to me, you know? But it's funny
Gotcha.
because, like, my favorite comedians and the ones that I like the most are, like, thought-provoking guys, and they come up with an issue that's, like, hot and I could never do this, but, like, it's my favorite to watch. They have, like, a hot button issue, and they find a way to intertwine it to where it doesn't sound as bad, and then they give you, like, some really thought-provoking punchline where it's like, "Oh my gosh." It can, like, change people's opinion on things.
And that's not what you wanna do,
That's
but
is what
that's
I
just
wanna
what you
do.
like. Oh,
That's
that's
what I
what you
wanna
do
do,
wanna
but
do.
I'm not good enough to do that, you know what I mean?
Dude, you are, man. The moment you say you're not good enough is the moment that you are not good enough. You have to believe, man. That's
Okay,
another
believing is the
big
first step
tenet.
to achieving. Well,
Yeah,
every
dude, your pastor father would say the exact same thing.
you I do, lately, I have been trying to do these affirmation things where I write down on paper every night or say to myself 10 times, whatever. So I'll say, like, I'm a great comedian 10 times or write that down or say, like, I'm successful and people
Yeah,
like me and I like me. So I am on that train. I'm doing that.
it's good.
Yeah.
And, um, so it sounds like we kind of hit on a nerve right there, though, which is you saying you're not good enough to write these kinds of bits. Have you tried to write these kinds of bits that
I
are the
yeah.
thought-provoking
Like
inversions of kind of hot button issues?
yeah, like I have jokes about like um there was one I wrote and it's never been released, but it's like I saw, those life hack things.
Yeah.
One of them was about ways that people can look thinner.
Hmm.
And one of them was this woman wrapped herself in saran wrap and she looked significantly thinner when they put clothes on her. Like didn't even look like the same person. They
Okay.
mummified her in saran wrap.
Sure.
And I was like, it's very ironic that not one of these options for the people who were like working out, exercising, losing weight and stuff like that, like none of those were options. And then the joke was because like if it gets to the end of the night and I take you home and I have to unwrap you like Thanksgiving leftovers, there's gonna be a problem. Like that, like I could never like that's just but then you look at me
It's
and
not
it's like
bad.
but then you look at me and I don't look like the type of guy that could deliver material like that.
Yeah, if it's not you, it's not you though.
Fair enough.
If that joke isn't you, then unfortunately you may have to drop it, but it's a
Yeah,
good joke.
exactly. But I'm
I
still
think that's
I
very
mean,
fun.
like, I mean, that's the thing. It's like,
But is that the type of joke you want to continue writing though? But then you're just
I
like
would like
you look at
to.
me and it makes me feel like uncomfortable.
Right, um,
What when you see so you're kind of in like a little thought prison yourself, where you're like, I write these jokes that I really like and wish I could do, but that's not who I am, and I have to kind of force myself to write these other jokes that aren't necessarily
I
me,
think I'm
but more
just
how
I
others
think
perceive me.
right now, I think well, obviously, it's a big perception thing. Everybody's worried about the way they're being perceived, and I myself fall victim to that. But
Same,
it's
yeah.
like I'll write stuff down, and like I was like, okay, I really want to like I haven't written a good setup punchline in a long time. I want to write a good setup punchline, and then other times it's like, oh, I want
Oh,
to write
may I give you a tip for that?
what's that?
May I give you a tip for writing a good setup punchline?
Sure, I'll take anything.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a website called comedywire.com. Are you familiar with
Hmm.
it?
Is it like half finished jokes, and it's like weekend update where I get to finish it?
Exactly.
I was
Yeah.
looking for one the other night, and now I know one. Thank you.
Yeah, basically it's just you get to exist in a writer's room essentially. They have like daily contests where you can win money writing, and they just have every headline and people write their best punchline.
That sounds
So
awesome. I'll definitely
I feel
check
like
that out.
spending a lot of time writing setups is one of the greatest downfalls of stand up because we're in the business of writing the joke, like the
Oh, it's
punchline, but you spend
dude,
hours like
my
looking
stories
for
are
something
all
funny to even
set
talk about.
up. My stories
Yeah.
are just all set up, bro, and I know that. Like,
So this might be a good exercise for you then to
yeah, it's
just say, all right, I'm going to bypass the writing the setup and dreading the, page long thing. The setup's done.
right.
I can't change it. I'm
And
going
I've
to just
talked
write
about
a
how
sentence.
I talked about how I wanted to be a good thought provoking, like make people laugh type of obviously make people laugh, but like make people really think about something type of comic. But then and I'm not a political comic guy. I don't really mess with that. I don't think I don't really want to do that. And then I also said I want to get good at set up punchlines. So really, I think if you look at both ends of those spectrum, where you have the storytelling type of thought provoking, you have the set up punchline type of quick hitting guy. I think really what I want to do is just be really good, and I haven't figured out how it fits me to be really good. I think I'm just in what it was. I don't know what you say. Just in I'm just in process of figuring out how I can use all my skills to become really good.
All right. So back to your writing process then. When you spend, let's say, an hour a night writing, are you writing multiple ideas or are you just honing in on one thing?
No, there's definitely there's sometimes where it's one big thing, and then there's some nights where I'll have like three or four ideas. You
Okay.
know?
I feel as if you just focus on one thing. So like let's just go back to the dark water thing because that's A political and B also kind of personal and meets like the inverting uh kind of heavy stuff with your own point of view
Right.
is like a good example. I think like literally just taking an hour to sit down and work on just that
Uh huh.
versus, all these different ideas that bounce in your head is a really good way to actually cut to the core of the joke and find out what is so funny to you about it rather than, being beholden to like 15 different ideas in your head. They can come in, just jot them down and file them away
Right.
anytime.
They can come in. Yeah.
Yeah, man, they're a loud entrance, but I
Yeah.
feel like being a stand-up is allowing yourself to be OCD and being open to every single idea and never allowing yourself to focus,
Yeah.
as opposed to just like saying, I'm only going to write about dark water. It
Yeah.
might feel like an essay or a TED talk, but once you get everything down, then you can kind of slim it and just focus on that for a month, even,
Yeah.
and then you could do a half hour on this experience because you lived it, your whole family lived it, your whole town lived it.
Yeah.
Like it's huge, and like they made movies about it. Like no one's done stand up about it that I know of. Like it's interesting. Could be it could be very a big thing.
And then here goes back to me, and I'm so constantly, and I have no clout, I have no fame, all this and that, and the other, and I'm so worried about how I'm being perceived. You know what I mean? It's very weird that me at such a low level, I'm worried about how I'm being looked at. But it's like I don't want to make a joke about my West Virginia life, and then all of a sudden
Yeah,
the only gigs I get is I'm doing New Smyrna Beach and I'm doing Chattanooga and I'm doing all these country towns and stuff like that. I don't want to be like the blue collar because
sure.
people from West Virginia just like have like the outside world just has such negative connotations about the type of people that are from here
Well,
that
maybe your act is subverting those expectations.
I guess so. But like
Yeah.
I kind of want it to be like an afterthought. Like I don't want people to be like, "Oh, that guy." I mean, if you're from here, that's all they'll talk about is he's from here. But if you're from the outside world, like I want it to be an afterthought. I don't want it to be like, "Oh, he's the West Virginia guy." Like
Right. So I guess, yeah.
I would much rather people just be like, "He's the guy who told XYZ joke," or he's just the funny nice guy. I don't know.
But now we got to figure out what XYZ joke is.
That I mean, I'll stay up till 3 in the morning tonight, probably racking my brain of what those
Yeah.
jokes
No,
are.
dude, dude, get some good night's sleep. Get a good night's sleep, please. Take my wife turned me on to melatonin. It's fantastic. No need
I
to stay
wanna
up late.
dabble in I wanna dabble in that.
It's good. It's just like a little candy that we take before bed and then we sleep through the
That sounds
night.
that sounds nice.
It's so much better. I can't believe I never did it before and I would just stay up till 3 a.m. and then be like, "Ah, where's
Is
this
there
time
anything
gone?"
that you definitely wanted to ask me, before you get out of here? I know you gotta run.
All right, yeah. So, what can you do to make these next 5 years where you achieve all these dreams? Obviously, you can look up all these clubs that you were talking about before and do the research necessary. You can reach out to comics that you admire. But how do you find it within yourself to get to this next level and write the jokes that you are really proud of and aspire to write?
It's all about repetition, and it's like these podcasts to me that I get to do with fellow funny people are reps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the Zoom shows I get to do are reps, and me not being in an area where I get to actually do formal stand up every night, I have to take every rep like it's an actual game. And so my goal is within the next 5 years to get to a major metropolitan area, obviously, hit the mics every night, do the writing, continue to do my podcast, and like just become a really well rounded speaker and like storyteller. That's really a good, like, that's a big plan of mine.
Well, getting the reps is important, but it's kind of hard because it is sort of predicated on like with the podcast, you're the one booking, but then you have to, rely on others for those reps. So I think getting the reps of forcing yourself to write every day,
Hmm.
if this is the dream
And I
of
have been
dreams,
good
is
about that. I have been good about that during
yeah.
writing. Thank God.
And then say you write it all, and then you're kind of like, well, I'm booked on this show that's pretty good. Uh, there's this kind of mind prison where you're like, I have to do the A material on the show because it's pretty good. I think reaching a point where you're allowing yourself to do this new stuff that you wrote is kind of the next step
Hmm.
toward freedom where you're like, okay, I can leave that stuff behind. I know it's good and I can finally sort of come out of my shell. Like, is that something that you do as well on these shows that you're on at the moment?
Well, like use new material or what?
Yeah, as opposed to saying, I've got 12 really good minutes and I'm going to go back to
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Like when I was first starting out, and Steve Burns straight up told me you're an idiot for doing this. Um, when I was first starting out, like every time I would go to a mic, I was only able to hit like a couple a week.
Mhm.
Every show I'd have a new five, and he's like,
Yeah,
stop. He's like, stop doing that now. I don't know why. I don't know why you would be doing that, but like I immediately stopped doing that, and that was more so when I was in college and less after I before and after I met Steve, but had been doing it. And so after that it's like really honing in on like what is
on the
my
five.
good five and like throwing stuff intertwined here and like maybe open with the closer, do something else. And then like the stories I tell and like so those Zoom, I know people like mock the Zoom mics and stuff like that, but for a guy like me who's not in a major metro area, like
Yeah,
I have to tell a really good story. And Joey, luckily enough, like lets me on. And so every time I'm on his show or he lets me host, like I deliver a whole new story and talk for 10 minutes or however long my story is. And just
that's
like,
impressive.
yeah, I just try really hard to make sure I get quality reps in.
Dude, that's good. It sounds like you're on the right path.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're putting all the work in, and if you just continue doing this, like we said earlier, for the 5, or excuse me, the 3 to 20-year
The 3
plan,
to woof, 3
dude,
3 or 20.
just keep going and it'll happen.
Well, I've already passed the 3, so I guess I'm the 20.
Yeah, and you got noticed and you have this show now. You host this show. Like you
Yeah,
made
man.
the step.
I'm
So
very curious to see what's going to happen in the next 5 years with the both of us. I think this idea that you have is it's unique. I don't think a lot of people. I mean, comics need therapists because they get up on stage and basically have a whole therapy session. But I think they might
right.
need to talk to regular people about this too. But they talk to other funny people, and for you to be that outlet, I think that's a brilliant idea, man.
I hope this was helpful in any way, and you kind of come away from it with some new focus that you didn't have
I
before.
definitely will, and I'll definitely listen back to it, and I'll honestly will probably uh, get this done, download, and like put it out maybe later tonight. I don't know, maybe get it out by 8 o'clock, and I don't know, maybe go to sleep to it. I feel like this is a very good
I'm
this
happy
is
to
like
put you to sleep, dude.
our version of like the Calm app. This is very cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's a much more, like I said, probing and less funny kind of podcast, but I
But
feel
you
like
know
it's
what you
it's
did though? You
productive,
know what
yeah.
you did? Like, I really don't know if we like delve deep enough. You suckered me in. I'm definitely gonna have to pay you for a session sometime.
Possibly. Yeah, I feel like for you, um, a good session would be talking material. Uh,
Dude, I thought you were gonna
not
say,
that
yeah.
not that it's bad because I feel like you have kind of a vision already, so it's kind of not exactly the best use of your time.
I don't even know what like. I need an outsider's
Sort
perspective.
of
I
a
need to know what you see that I'm not seeing. It's tough.
yeah, yeah, right now, like, saying being the funny, nice guy, though, is, like, what everyone is.
Exactly.
When you yeah, it's the finding what makes you a little different.
Ah,
Even and
duh.
like I said, you've got the baseball scout, you've got West Virginia,
Great.
and kind of, like, saying, "Alright, I fit into this box, sort of. Now it's time to, like, exploit it a little bit."
Yeah.
Exploit the box, man,
Exploit the
because once you
board.
become, like, a thing, I feel like the best example is, do you know Shane Torres?
Shane Torres. The name sounds familiar.
He is a comic that is originally from Portland and moved to New York, and he honed this bit about why Guy Fieri isn't as bad as everyone says. That
Hmm.
was on Conan for years. I feel like I saw him workshop it for a long time. Did it on Conan, and it blew up. He found a thing. Like
Uh-huh.
it's just like the dark water thing,
Yeah.
where
I
he
gotta
was
find a
like, I
thing.
am focusing solely on Guy Fieri and why he's actually great, and people making fun of him have totally the wrong idea. And by you like taking this dark water thing on and seeing it through the lens of someone that was actually affected by it, it's interesting because I mean, I didn't see Dark Water, but from what I read, it was kind of like a dull prestige piece that was sort of on the straight and narrow as opposed to like anything that was. I mean, I didn't see it, but I can't
Yeah.
imagine it was super nuanced. I
The
feel like it had
documentary the
some.
documentary on Netflix called "The Devil We Know" is much more informative.
I mean, I would like to hear about that in stand up. I feel like in stand up, it's a lot of kind of anecdotes and observational stuff, but if you tackle something that has
The
a
scary
little
thing is,
more
it's like
meaning
no,
to
we
it,
don't know what's going to happen to us in the future. That's a scary thing, but that's for another day.
yeah, I mean, yeah, but you can still release it and just do something with it
Right? Oh
as
yeah,
opposed to
I'm
yeah,
absolutely with you.
like covering this thing in West Virginia way more interesting than, just talking about like how LA is like Turkey.
Hey, it is
As
just
funny as that
too
is.
it is just too dry. Okay, and my mom absolutely eviscerated me for this, and I think my mom is a big part of my
No, it's a
stand.
funny joke, but
My
like
mom
the
I'm
dark water
terrified of my
thing is
mom. I'm
something I
terrified
won't
of my
forget.
mom, but this is for, like, an actual therapist that they'll
Yeah.
hear about this part, but no, so I was telling her, and this is it, I'll close with this because I know you gotta get out of here, but,
Yeah.
it was about how, it's the holiday season, and every year around this time of year, we see on the news the freeways in Los Angeles absolutely full. One way you see all red, the other way you see all white, and those are headlights and taillights. And it makes me wonder why Los Angeles is a destination spot. If it's such a destination, why do people always leave on holidays? We don't do this for anything else, okay? Nothing else does this. Okay, so we eat turkey once a year. Turkey is a destination. The rest of the year, we're not going, how come we don't eat turkey more often? Because on the destination, you eat the turkey, and much like LA, it's just too dry. And there it is.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those things where you build and you have us, and then it's just sort of you take it out. I feel like you can build way more.
So, well, that was the half-hearted. This is one night
Not
only.
bad. It's not bad. No, I'm not saying it's bad, but I
I
feel
don't,
like
and I will say this. I'm not like
yeah,
I'm gaining more confidence. I think I am funny. I just don't think I'm like an absolute killer. But I mean, that's going to take years.
yeah. I think that's just being 3 years in. That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. But I
But
do I
most
do think I
most
was much
important thing is
I do think I was
thinking
much
you are
funnier than
very
I was.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got the affirmation down, which I think is helping.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, man, you are funny. Just say
Thank
that
you.
to yourself.
There it is. I
Yeah,
am
dude.
funny. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, is there anything
Oh yeah.
you would like to plug? Anything?
Um, my wife and her mom do a weekly reading of a show and it's called Dragonfly Multicultural Arts Center,
Okay.
and you can follow it on Facebook. Is what I will plug.
That's very nice that you would plug your wife's show. I saw a picture
She's
of
sitting
your.
right next to me.
Can I say something to her?
Yeah, I'll put her. You want to have her on the pod for a sec?
Yeah, just real quick. I want to say something to her.
Here
One
she
second.
is. Here's Anna.
Anna, this is Franklin. Hello.
Hi, can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. I saw a picture of you. Matt took of you at a baseball game, and I saw you had a scorebook in your hand.
Yeah, I keep score at the
That
games.
is so cool. I've done the same thing. I think that is awesome.
Oh, thank you. I feel it helps me pay attention more, and then I have a little special souvenir of the game. I learned from Keith Hernandez on the SNY telecast for the
Yeah.
Mets.
I loved getting Mets games when I was doing the scouting stuff. They have the best broadcast booth easily. Like it's
Oh
so
yeah, I'm a huge fan.
that was one part of my gig was doing like the actual scoring of the game, but having to break it down to the 10th degree. But it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I love it. So I hope that we can go to live games this coming season and I can keep score again.
That is also my goal. But thank you very much for joining us. That's really cool that you do that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Of course, of course.
Here, I'll hand you back to Matt.
All right, sounds good.
That was my
That
wife.
was Matt's wife, everyone. The lovely Anna, right? Anna?
Yeah, Anna
Oh,
Paone.
lovely, lovely. All right, hey Matt, thank you very much for being on, my friend. This
My
helped a
pleasure, dude.
lot. I needed to have my own therapy session, I guess, and everyone watching, now you know why I am the way I am, I guess. Okay,
Thanks again for having me, dude. Have a good one, man.
that's true. All right, see ya.